Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Circle Up and Get Real, where we talk about things that matter with people who matter. And I think that's a really important distinction to make now, today, and always, I'm sure. The opportunity and the responsibility to talk about things that matter with people who matter. And I always say, or usually say, that means anybody. Anybody who wants to engage, I think, is people who matter. And actually, everybody matters, even if they don't choose to engage. Yet today, after the week we've had in the United States of America, I think it's more important than ever that we do. How can I say this? I'm going to speak for myself. That I do what I can to make the world a better place. And I guess when I titled this talk today, Skeptical or Cynical, it's so easy to get cynical about things these days because there are so many gotcha bombs being thrown. And you'll have to look at Loretta Ross's TED Talk to get more information and context about that. But she talks about calling in the calling out culture. And right now it feels like we're in this calling out culture where it's so easy to call people out and to make a judgment about someone based on something. And it doesn't feel very safe these days to express something. Words are weapons. And oh my goodness, it is so heated right now. It's so heated. And so this morning I had an opportunity to be with a group of people. We've our mastermind group that meets on Wednesdays. I've actually had three really significant conversations today, and a couple more earlier this week. And what I learn from dialogue is so valuable to me in building my perspective and in becoming more educated about things I don't understand or don't know about. And that's my commitment to myself, I guess, and my commitment to the people who are interested in engaging in dialogue. I want to become more educated. I want to understand things. I want to have a more well-rounded viewpoint. And I believe the challenge these days has been, where do I find facts? Where do I learn how to discern? Because can I even trust that information out there is not misinformation, which to me is a mistake. Oops, sorry, I said the wrong thing. Misinformation. Because there's so much disinformation, which is information that is not true put out there on purpose. And there's so much irony and so much hypocrisy, and I'm doing my best to stay above it. And I see things and I have to shake my head because it's just fascinating to me, and not always positively fascinating. What causes people to be incited and riled up and get violent? I don't even have to address the things that have happened. If you look at it's September 17th right now when I'm recording this. Look back in history if you want to listen to this later. There have been a lot of amazing things this week and this month and this year and this decade that have caused a lot of divisive conversations. And so this morning I took a lot of notes. I took a whole page of notes, and if you're watching, I'll just share it with you, the notes I took during the conversation. And the cool part about the conversation today was, and usually in most of the groups that I facilitate, we don't have agendas, meaning we don't have from 10 to 10:30, we're going to talk about this. And we don't have agendas, but we have topics in the groups that I facilitate. Not that there's anything wrong with an agenda item and, covering specifics. We are practicing emergent conversations where we are allowing a safe space to engage. And when that happens, people don't necessarily say the things that they brought with them into the space. And what I mean by that is, if I have something I need to say and get out into the space, I'm going to speak. I'm not going to listen. I'm going to say my piece and then leave, typically. Say what I got to say and then get out, say what I got to say, because we're so used to saying or not having a space to speak into because people don't have time or patience. So we have to speak in sound bites because otherwise people will go away. I know even this, when I do this podcast, I recognize that I don't have a ton of followers. And I thought about this morning because I'm not doing what I do for the followers. I mean, I'm doing this for the people who want to engage. Yet, if I looked at how many comments and how many followers and how many whatever clicks, then I'm not doing what I'm doing in the way that I feel called to do the action I would take for pure reasons. I'm doing it for the clicks and for the likes. So we're talking about that in one of my conversations today about dropping a pebble in a pond and seeing how it ripples, because it will. If you drop a pebble in the pond, it will create ripples. Now, if I'm dropping the pebble in the pond for the ripples, that's one thing. If I'm dropping the pebble in the pond because it's just what I'm doing, dropping a pebble here, doing a kind act here, being aware of my impact, my footprint, my whatever. If I'm doing that consciously in the pebbles I'm dropping, I'm not doing it for the ripples. I'm not doing it for the ripples. The ripples happen in spite of the fact that I dropped the pebble. And what I'm noticing is how, and again, this is going to sound like a judgment, I guess, and I'm doing my best to stay observational. And I wonder how many of us, me included, have looked at a post or looked at something we put on social media and been disappointed because more people didn't like it or whatever. I get that. And what I understand about myself is I'm so committed to connection and conversation and communication and collaboration that I love to have engagement. I love to learn from and with people personally. That's me. That's what I get out of it. And so I love it when more people interact. I put a post out on my Facebook page this last weekend and had a lot of engagement, a lot of engagement. And it's interesting because I put one out later and didn't have nearly as much engagement. I guess you could look at that as clicks and likes or whatever. I look at it as engagement because if you've ever engaged with me in any kind of conversation online, this is good place to look because you can go back and check. I have responded. I'm not going to say 100% because I'm certain I've missed some. It has never been my intention to not respond. And if I haven't, it's an oversight on my part, and I take responsibility for that. Yet, if you have engaged with me, you probably could back up the fact that nearly every time I will engage, I will respond, I will go back, I will ask, I will like or care or whatever on your comment on something I've posted. And the really interesting thing right now, today actually, is how many times I've observed gotcha bombs. This is what Loretta Ross calls them, where somebody might throw a comment out there, maybe an anonymous comment, or do something in order to incite. It looks like to incite. I can't prove that, but it looks like to incite. There's a cartoon that I saw today. I'm just going to call it up on my phone so I don't misrepresent it. The cartoon looks to me to be should I even tell you what it looks like? It's a donkey with a fire, like a hose with fire coming out of it, and in the middle of a bunch of flames. And it says, "We all need to turn down the temperature." And I'm not even going to tell you what the flame, what the hose is connected to, because I don't need to be insightful of this, but we all need to turn down the temperature. Okay, and maybe we all agree on that. We need to turn down the temperature right now. And since it's a donkey, it's, draw your conclusion. It's a cartoon. Yet the person who posted this is not on the donkey side. And I know that from some of the other things that this person has posted in the past. And while the sentiment is probably true, I would agree we need to turn down the temperature. Well, what's the point of putting the cartoon up? If you want to turn down the temperature, why would you even share that cartoon? It doesn't make logical sense to me. And I go back to this, I don't even know who said it, somewhere along the line. If we just all agree, no, I don't even want to say that. If I choose to sweep my own doorstep, I will have a clean doorstep. And I guess the analogy is if we all clean our own doorsteps, eventually we'll have a clean world. I'm not doing it for the ripples. I'm doing it because it's the right thing to do. I'm dropping the pebble. And what I'm noticing is there aren't a lot of people who appear to want clean doorsteps. They say they do. Why don't we all just clean our doorsteps? And then they don't clean their doorstep. And then they throw garbage on somebody else's doorstep. I don't understand it. What do you really want, people? What do you really want? Do we really want to be right? Or do we really want the temperature to be turned down? Do we really want a world of peace? I mean, what do we really, really want? And if I ask that question, if I ask it on my Facebook post, there are usually, see, it's so, you have to be so careful, don't you, what you say? And that's good because words do matter. There, more often than not, there are very respectful comments, more often than not. But every now and then there's one of those comments that has never asked me of my intention or what I care about or what's important to me on my page. And it's just so interesting to me how much we must be looking to be right. We're looking to be right because we feel so disempowered, maybe. And again, anything I say is my opinion here today, and it could be taken completely out of context because that's what we're up to these days. These short sound bites, we don't seem to have enough attention span to stay with a conversation all the way through. Good news that I'm noticing is that on the podcast that I watch most often, they are long interviews and long conversations, which I'm very happy about because it causes me to dig deeper and to listen more thoroughly, which has been a good thing for me. So I'm just wondering how often I've made sweeping generalizations in my language. You know, like everybody does this or nobody does this or this always happens or this never happens. I think I do that without even thinking about it. Nobody cares about my position. Nobody ever asks me about what I think is not true. It's not true. It is not a true statement. And I get so committed to being right about that I will overlook those people who do ask about me, who do care about how I came to my conclusions. And I will look for evidence to prove that what I believe is true is true. And there's no need to look deeper if what I'm finding is supporting what I already believe, right? There's no need to fact check things if what I see on the surface already validates what I believe. And so what I'm doing is looking, even if somebody posts something I agree with, I look, is that a true statement? Is there any research to back that up? Are there more sources to back that up? That's my responsibility. That's what it means to me to drop pebbles of truth, to clean them up if I find later that something I said was not backed up by research, to keep my own doorstep clean. Because if I'm not doing that for myself, why would I be yelling at you about how dirty your doorstep is? That doesn't make logical sense to me. Why would I do that? I can't understand that. And so to me, I have to shake my head in disbelief sometimes. And I have to go, wow, how did we get here? How did we get here where we prefer dirty doorsteps, even when we could be doing something to clean ours? Well, they're not cleaning theirs next door, and their garbage is going to get onto my doorstep, so what's the point? What's the use? I'm not going to do it either. It's just easier to complain about how dirty the doorsteps are. I love when I clean my doorstep and leave and look back and go, oh, that feels so good. I did something. I made a difference. I made a tiny little dent in something, and it feels good. Doing the right thing, serving people, loving people, caring about people has an effect on the doer too. It's not completely selfish. Selfless. It's not completely selfless. I get a good feeling about doing the right thing. I during COVID, I took up chalking driveways. So pretty much that whole year, I think, I put chalk drawings on my sidewalk and in my driveway, and I had people who drove by and honked. I mean, it was really cool. I didn't do it for you. I mean, this is gonna sound, I didn't do it for you. I did it for me, right? I did it for me because I liked driving home and seeing colored chalk on my driveway. I liked using that as a canvas. I liked the fact that when it rained, it started all over, and I got an opportunity to share something with people. I didn't share negative stuff. Why would I share negative stuff? That's not my clean doorstep. I shared positive stuff. I felt like people needed a little jolt of something positive. And so that's what I did, and that's what I chose to do. And I called it random acts of chalking. And every now and then I'd walk around and go for walks, and I'd take my chalk with me and I'd leave a little random chalk. I did that during COVID. What happened? Why am I not doing that anymore? That just occurred to me right now. I maybe want to think about that. I'd like to believe that I'm leaving little trails of something positive with the people I interact with. And I need to thank the people I've had conversations with in the last couple of days. The coffee meetings I've had Monday, the conversations I had today, yesterday. I'm so grateful. I had an opportunity to speak at a conference on Monday, and I just had amazing people in my sessions. And they created listening space for me to speak into that allowed my message to be way better than it would have been if they wouldn't have been interactive, if they wouldn't have been engaged, if they wouldn't have, helped me share a message. That was due to you, people who were there. Thank you. Those of you who were in my 2 sessions at that conference on Monday, I thank you from the bottom of my heart, because it was fun, way more fun for me because it appeared to be fun for you. And then the conversations yesterday and today, I don't have to go into detail. I just wonder. I wonder about a lot of things. And for me, I don't have it all figured out. I think I titled this Skeptical or Cynical. I think it's great to be skeptical about things. I think it's awesome to be skeptical because it means, yeah, I don't know if I really believe that. I'm not saying it's wrong, yet I'm being skeptical. If I'm skeptical, I'm willing to go dig and find out. Is this something that I can get behind? I'm going to use my power of discernment to go, okay, I'm not going to believe it. I'm not dissing you, but I'm going to do some more research. That's skeptical. I don't quite get it yet, but I'm open to the possibility that I could learn something that could, enhance or change my point of view. But without skepticism, it turns into cynicism. And cynicism is a deep-seated negative way of looking at the world where everyone's out to get you, everything's bad, nobody is to be trusted. And when you become cynical and you become resigned to the way the world is, you become closed, defensive, and committed to being right. And the weird thing about that is you're probably going to find evidence to prove what you already believed anyway. But I think I could say, take out the probably in that. You're going to. You're going to find evidence to prove that what you already believe is to be believed. And that does not open us up at all to any connections other than the ones we currently have. Jodee says, we all have dirt on our doorsteps. Ego has so much to do with it. People will see in the news and or wherever they look whatever facts are needed to support their narrative. Yes, it is also a choice to think the world is bad. Jodee Dawson, I couldn't have said it better myself. So true. Jodee, I'm reading it. That's why I said what you wrote. I'm reading your comment. So yes, completely 100%. We are, and then in that way, if that's what we do, Jodee, and we keep looking for evidence to prove what we're right, then nothing expands. It won't, there's no way it can expand to understanding another person who had a different upbringing than you did, or, who had, I don't know, has a lot different experience than you do. I think what I'm keenly aware of right now, and this is from a book I read many years ago now, probably 2022 maybe. It's a book by Oprah and Bruce Perry, and it's called What Happened to You. That's the name of the book. And I was especially intrigued by that book because Bruce Perry is a doctor who Oprah's worked with for 30 years, but he's from Bismarck, North Dakota. And as soon as I read that book, I reached out to him on social media and I said, I'm from Fargo. I'm your neighbor. Thank you very much for what you're doing, the work you're doing. And he got back to me immediately. He made it real. I'm one step closer to Oprah. My friend Jean graduated from high school with him. I mean, this is a small world when you think about it. And that book is so important now, especially given the topic of this talk, right? Because it talks about not what's wrong with you, which is the first thing we want to say with people. What's wrong with you? Your doorstep's dirty. What the heck's wrong with you? That's the first, I suppose, emotion that happens a lot when we're upset and frustrated. And the book is all about not what's wrong with you, but what happened to you. What happened to you? What happened in your life? What caused you to see things the way you see them? What was it? What were your watershed moments? What was it that impacted you? And why don't we ask that? Why don't we find that out from people? We don't have time. I know there's lots of reasons. We have so many reasons. We're so reasonable in our lives. So many reasons why we don't. So many reasons why we do. You showed me 10 years ago that you don't care about, I'm totally making this up, you don't care about rabbits. Because I had a pet rabbit and you came over and kicked the cage my rabbit was in. Oh my gosh, this is such a dumb analogy. But so now I'm judging you because you kicked the cage my rabbit was in. And I'm not going to think of you any differently than when I first encountered you 10 years ago. And then we develop a point of view, and heaven forbid we'd have to change it. Man, if people judged me by who I used to be, oh Lord, I have changed. I have learned. I have grown. I have expanded my perception and my perspective. And, if people are holding me to something I'm no longer, then that's not about me. So on Monday, I was at this conference, and the keynote speaker was talking about water we swim in. And she had pictures of two little fish, and she was talking about, the way I interpreted it was, it's like when we're swimming in the water, we don't notice we're swimming in the water, right? I mean, we just are. It just is what it is. And so as I'm working on this next book with Chris, my co-author, we are exploring the concept of culture, which is kind of like the water. It is the way we do things around here. It's the way we feel about things. And that's how we're looking at culture. And so I'm kind of exploring the time, or the intro, I suppose the time of the book, the timing of the book. And the intro is really important because it sets the whole thing up. And I'm just kind of exploring this concept of the water we swim in, because I think the word culture is one of those words that has gotten hijacked, and we think it's soft and squishy. And so this is what I wrote for the intro, and I'm not sure if we're going to use it or not, but I'm just going to try it out on you, my audience here. Culture is one of the most overused, misunderstood, and hijacked words of our time. We hear about culture wars, cancel culture, and cults of personality. For some leaders, the word feels fluffy. For others, it feels like a fight they'd rather avoid. But culture isn't abstract. It isn't a war or a slogan. Culture is like the water we swim in. When it's clear, you hardly notice it. When it's polluted, you can't ignore it. And right now, too many of us are just trying to keep our heads above the surface, or, like Dory in Finding Nemo, repeating, just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep swimming, without asking where the current is taking us. And that's how it feels right now. That's how it feels right now today on September 17th, 2025. And if we're not, I guess I'm going to say ready, willing, and able, right? If we're not ready to allow other people some grace in their own journeys, we're going to keep getting what we've gotten. Ready? If we're not able to understand people, then that's a cognitive, problem that we would have. Ability is very different. If you don't have the ability, I'm not disparaging you. I'm making an assumption that if you're listening to this right now, you have the ability to do this. But the willingness is the key, right? The willingness is the one that I just don't know. I don't know how many people are willing to expand their perspective. I don't know. And if we're not willing to expand our perspective, I will tell you right now, you can count on me to do that. You can count on me to expand my perspective. And if you want to engage in a dialogue with me, a dialogue is willingness to suspend previous assumptions in order to learn something. That's a willingness, right? If you have that, I am 1,000,000% in. I am. Jodee, I think you could validate this for me. You say, me too, I have changed. Yeah, and Jodee and I had an exchange over the weekend. Jodee, we did, and it was online, but I really feel great that neither of us left. Neither of us said, I'm taking my toys and going home. Even though we come from different perspectives, I value you as a human, and I hope you value me as a human, and that gives us perspective. That gives us so much. It's so much richer. It's just so much richer when we have the opportunity to see the world from a different point of view than the one that I got plopped into. I didn't ask to be born in Lisbon, North Dakota. I didn't ask that. Well, maybe, I mean, if we could get existential here, maybe I did. But I wasn't born in China. I wasn't born in even Canada, right? I was born where I was born. So I can look at that and go, well, poor me. I didn't have the opportunity. Well, okay. Or tell me what it's like in China. Tell me what it's like in Canada. Help me understand this because I'm really curious about it. And in that space of, wow, here's a really weird thing I'm going to tell you because it's going to sound really weird. When I was a little kid, I would watch a lot of TV as we did in little kids and as little kids in the 70s. And I watched TV shows about kids who lived in like on the beach, or lived in places where there are palm trees. And I kept thinking that's the coolest thing in the world. These things called palm trees are so cool. And I just really seriously thought they were like props because I had seen plays before. I thought, oh, these cool kinds of trees are so cool. And I love that on this sound set, that is where that show took place, they have palm trees. Until I went to San Diego, my junior year of high school. And this is so bad to say, isn't it? Because I was 17 years old or however old you are as a junior. That was the first time I'd ever seen palm trees in real life. And I went, oh my gosh, this isn't fake. This is real. People actually live in a place where it's green and they have palm trees. Because I went in March, must have been a school trip. And where I left, it was snow. And I thought everybody had snow at Christmas. I didn't know. I thought it was just the way everybody lived. How else would I have known that? Till I went to San Diego and saw palm trees in the winter. What? Are you kidding me? Maybe that's where I started getting really curious. Huh. And I know that's a funny story, but it was one of my watershed moments. It was one of those times where I was like, oh, I can go right or left here. I can go up or down here. I can make this choice or that choice. What am I going to make? And I think if we really, as a society, as people, as individuals in the society, make those kinds of choices every time something doesn't feel right, where we look at a cartoon that upsets or frustrates us, or we even something that validates what we believe, dig deeper. Dig deeper. Is that true? Is that really true? Can I find that there are facts to back this up? That's my doorstep. I'm going to do what I can to keep my doorstep clean, which means I'm going to research. I'm going to keep asking questions. Even if you think I'm nagging at you, it's not to be a jerk. It's to learn. It's to have you help me understand what the world looks like from your perspective. Not because there's anything wrong with you, but because I'm curious about what happened. What happened? What had you figure out this was important to you? And I'd love it if you'd ask me too, but that's not the point. I'm not doing this for the ripples. I'm doing it because the pebble drops are what I can do. So thank you. Thank you. Melissa, thank you. We need a push. Yes, Jodee Dawson, my friend, thank you so much for being in this conversation. You are the real deal, friend. Thank you. Jodee says, back in the day, we did not realize that even Bugs Bunny was very violent, right? But they kept on living through all the blow-ups. Oh my gosh, this is a whole other conversation. Cartoons that we were raised on. Great conversation, you guys. This week, maybe just see what you can do to get more connected to what is important to you. That's what I call being real. Finding that place in you that says, this is who I am, and I'm either doubling down or I'm interested in being a little more open. Let's clean our doorsteps. How about that? Thanks, everybody. Take care. Talk to you again.